Welcome to my channel and welcome to the video about my November works. My November started from pictures with a lot of flowers and pumpkins. Let's start from Skimming Timan, the book by Maria Trolle. And here I did this flower wreath with roses, with foxgloves. You know that I'm not a big fan of doing backgrounds in Maria Trolle, so when I can do picture on black background, I always use such opportunity. And here I really love the shape of this wreath. It's actually picture from the cover, so I think that Maria also is a fan of her own work, so it was definitely one of the best in the book. And finally I colored it. I decided that I don't care much about realistic colors for roses, so even for red roses I selected more realistic color combos. Of course we have roses in many varieties. I'm just not sure if my roses look like roses or more like peonies. But honestly I don't care, because I care more about the whole composition, and I think that everything here looks very bright, and it was nice to color something in with summer vibe during gloomy November days. I also decided that if I usually color bluebells in blue and violet, this time I can do something different, so today they are yellow. Well, first I was thinking about doing much more contrast birds, but then I decided that I love flowers here more than birds, so for me they are secondary heroes and flowers are main heroes here. So birds are a little bit messed up with the rest of the leaves, flowers, branches. What can I say? Comparing to my other works in Maria Trolle books, this one is definitely one of the best. At least I enjoyed it, and it was easy to do picture without having thinking about background. So I really love to do some pictures on the black paper, black background. And everything is done with Prismacolors. In the end of October I was sure that I'm totally fed up with pumpkins, that I don't want to touch any pictures with pumpkins during this year, but surprisingly then I looked at Voyage book by Joseph Kattenbank, book which I hadn't started yet until this November, and I noticed a page with pumpkins, with big amount of pumpkins, and surprisingly I decided that actually I can do one more page with pumpkins. Here I decided to start with the background, and as the quickest way I decided to use markers. I am still far from being good at selecting markers, selecting right gradient if I need to use several colors from light to dark. And here when I applied my blue-green markers, I wasn't sure that I want to proceed at all, because color near the source of light for me was too intense, too dark. Maybe I had to select something lighter. Color which I put near the edges and near corners wasn't dark enough. But then on the second step, when I started to work with pencils on top of markers, everything started to look much better. Along the edges, on top of the blue-green, I put dark indigo from Polychromos, and it helped to make background more interesting. So gradient now is from green-blue into blue, and it looks definitely better. Well, for the pumpkins and leaves, I experimented with various brands like Star Joy Gold pencils and Sucolor pencils, and you can work with budget pencils in mythographic series just with lesser pleasure comparing to Prismacolors or Polychromoses. They felt a little bit more dry, but for the lighter shade of the leaves starchy gold, they were acceptable. They have interesting shades of light green, that's why I used them. Anyway, even if I struggled a little bit with the leaves and pumpkins, in the end I love the final look of it. I'm really glad that I selected red for her sweater, for her clothes. It definitely helped to attract attention to the girl, and I simply love this composition. She is reading, she is comfy, we have nice atmosphere of autumn, and of course I love this sleepy cat. So my first page in Voyage by Bank is finally done, and I'm really happy. Of course, in this video will be a lot of books by Morgan O'Brien, because in November I worked in 3 books. As November was the last month of autumn, I wanted to do several pictures in autumn coloring book. Let's start from the beginning. I did this page with Happy Mail. I really hope that my matchstick mouse received a lot of maybe early Christmas or Thanksgiving presents. Next, I did this one when we also had rains outside. I just tried to imagine which colors I hadn't used yet for the head and clothes for the mouse. Next one probably is my favorite for this month in autumn book, because I really love the sweetness of this picture, caring for the friend, how Matchstick Mouse is holding leaf over the spider. I think that it's really very sweet. Here I think that maybe the color palette wasn't right, so here I think that it's not enough texture on the mouse. I don't know why I forgot to put a little bit of a marker as I usually do for the fur. Maybe somehow distracted me, I don't remember, so maybe I need to put a little bit of color here. And I would love now to make shadows a little bit darker. In this one it was very quick but fun, because I really love the vibe of this picture, how happy this mouse is. I called it Aviator, so maybe mouse is trying to fly. For me the backpack was, I think that it's made from box of matches, and I tried to show it. So really simple but very sweet and nice. That's why I love pictures by Morgan O'Brien, that even in such small composition you can find nice sweet details, and it always helps you to get a very good mood when you color it. Very positive pictures. In Christmas book, which of course I intend to use in December, so far in November I did only 1 page, but I think that it's nice. It's making pancakes. I really love how the whole company is waiting for the pancakes. And mouse, well, first I was thinking that maybe that was the first not very successful attempt, but now I think that maybe it's special treat for the spider, and the next one will go for the worm and bug. Anyway, it's really sweet, and this one I love. And I had a big pleasure to color in North Pole Elves. I definitely can recommend this book for time before Christmas, for you, for your children, because it's really nice for all ages, and you will enjoy doing it. So here I have my Happy Elves family. Even if picture is small, I tried to do 2 different colors for the wood, trying to make window frame and door in slightly darker color, floor and wall slightly lighter. And I love how they are dancing, and I love their clothes in this book. Next I have this elf tailor, also very nice composition. Next, Dancing with Penguin, a really cute penguin. I love how Morgan O'Brien draw animals simplified but always adorable and really easy to color. I also tried to select different colors for the sky. This time I selected a violet color combo for sky and a little bit for shadows, at least to make my snow pictures at least slightly different. And I added more decorations to the tree. They had simple trees, but I think that they already decorated the Christmas tree. And finally I have this nice one. I really wanted to color this red motorbike or scooter, and that's why I selected it. Then I decided that if I want to do the strong contrast between the rays of light and dark background, I can do this interesting gradient on the dark sky. In this falling snow, first I did with pencils, then I outlined it with marker, and then I sprinkled everything with white paint to increase impression of the falling snow. But let's return from winter pictures into autumn, because it's still November, and in Creative Heaven Books by Teresa Goodrich, this month I did 4 pictures. I think that it's a good result. In Autumn Charm, I selected page which is something between autumn and winter. Winter because it has branches of pine tree, autumn because it has sunflowers and pumpkins, and rowan berries. I love rowan berries, even if sometimes I'm not very successful in coloring them. But here I think that everything is well balanced. I even enjoy doing this background, trying to do grass and leaves here in various shades of brown green, olive green, to show that color of the grass is started to fade and that it's not bright green. Well, I also enjoy doing wooden texture here and here. What can I say? My biggest struggle was, as usual, with birds. Sometimes they simply didn't match the idea which I imagined to myself. Like I wanted to color birds, and it was wasn't easy to put it on the body of the bird here. I usually struggle with cardinals. Anyway, but in the end I like it because it's vibrant. I do love those sunflowers, and on birds I can practice later. Maybe I dislike that some of them look too big. I don't know. Something is bothering me here, but the whole picture, I think that it looks nice, and it was a good farewell to Autumn Pictures and Autumn Book by Teresa Goodrich. Country Kitchen is one of the books which one day I hope to finish. I still have a long road ahead of me because I maybe did about 6 or 8 pictures here, but when I can, I try to color in this book. And here in the beginning of the book I had this very simple page where some of the elements I liked, some were so. It's simple compared to the other pictures here with interior designs, but I wanted to color wood, so I decided that it's time to color in this book also. I don't know if it's visible on screen, but wood here also has 2 color palette, 2 cutting boards in 1 color, and 2 cutting boards has slightly different hue of brown, more yellowish red probably, and these 2 have more classical light amber, dark amber color. So at least in such way I tried to make picture more interesting. I also decided that I don't want here to have a simple bush of these strange long leaves, so some of them I tried to convert into lavender. I simply colored part of the leaves with lavender. Yes, it's rough, it's far from realistic, but at least it gave some bright focal point, because I was afraid that apart from the flower pots and these rowan berries, there won't be a lot of bright elements here. So that's why I did flowers and lavender flowers here as a focal point. Well, nothing special, and I dislike how I worked here with acrylic markers on the leaves. My darker greens there were dry, and I was too lazy to go to clean them. I realized that it will take a long time, so I used lighter colors, and now maybe it looks too rough. Maybe I will cover them with additional layer of pencils, so white lines won't look so bright here. Apart from it, I'm glad that I did this picture quite quickly, especially because I did marker background. I'm extremely happy that I finally started to color Frog's Tail by Richard. Sorry, I forgot the name of Mr. Hampson, but The Frog's Tale, it's definitely a very nice, very positive book. I love Mr. Fogarty and his friends, especially the snail. I started with a relatively big project. I don't know why I was thinking that it could be a quick work, but then I realized that even for the marker background I spent quite a long time here, and I was constantly afraid that such intense and detailed frame will be distracting attention from the central part. So when I started to do the inner picture, interior design, I decided to use this blue color to make, I don't know, like spot of area which would be different from the background color. And of course it was really nice to think about all highlights, all reflections. We have this fireplace as a source of light, so everything on the glass fishbowl, on the armchair, on the body of the Mr. Fogarty, I tried to show those warm reflections from the fire, so it was nice. For the background I used markers, but for the rest of this page, for the room, for Mr. Fogarty, for the snail, everywhere I used polychromos. Yes, paper is thin, but so far I don't have big problems with blending on it. I think that I need to test other pencils. I would prefer to use something cheaper rather than polychromos here, but for now I think that I am happy with the beginning, and when I finish this round central image, I decided that I want to do another one, and I realized that the second set of pictures has a very nice picture in the beginning, small but very nice here, and it's 5 o'clock tea. Mr. Fogarty and snail again are colored with polychromos, but for the background I finally used cheaper pencils. Mostly it's Castle Art pastel tint. They have nice colors, but sometimes they could be too waxy. So here I put them first, and then several contrast colors to divide sky from the water I added with polychromos. Pastel tints together with polychromos, they were okay, even if blending somewhere is far from perfect, but I'm not sure that it's problem of paper or pencils. Maybe that's simply I'm not very patient. Yeah, of course I would prefer a slightly thicker pencil, but still, texture is nice. I love white color of this paper, so definitely, and I also love this soft touch cover, so book is very pleasant to look at and to color in. I definitely can recommend this one. Next I will show you Ivy. Here in Ivy I finally finished this spread which I started 6 or 7 years ago, so it's one of my oldest works. Of course it doesn't look like a spread, they are totally different, but for myself I thought that maybe here we have magical portal from something like steampunk industrial reality into a world full of nature, full of flowers and light. And here we simply have a portal between dark and light. Here I try to stay in a limited color palette, and the biggest quest for me was how to incorporate the area with text into the image. Many pictures in this book, they have this text area and relatively simple frame, which is extremely boring to color. I think that the initial image I could color in 30 minutes probably, but for the central part where I tried to blend colors smoothly and to do more interesting gradient, I spent a couple of additional hours, and I'm still not very happy of my blending efforts, because I was afraid that if I would put too much pressure, if I blend too much, text started to disappear and to be unreadable. But I do love color combo here, shades of yellow green, olive green, together with quite vibrant blue and a small touch of lilac. I think that they look nice, and when I added those bright spots of bluebells, I remembered how much I loved yellow bluebells from Maria Trolle page, which I did in the beginning of November, and I decided to use similar color palette here. So the keyhole, which I tried to do as something to look old, and at least for the inner part to use similar colors here. Simple work, but I am glad that I finished it, and now I have the whole spread finished. And it's all done with Prismacolor pencils. Only for the green frame I tried to save my more precious Prismacolor, so I used green Arctic pencil. It felt maybe a little bit too waxy, but as I didn't need to layer it, it was okay. And again I did page in Year of Witches, and again I had a huge struggle. But this time it wasn't only fault of the paper, but it was also my own fault. When I started to do this page, I imagined the whole background in this very calm, muted colors of clay rose, pink gray, light pink. And I started to work with such colors, doing gradient from slightly darker to slightly lighter colors. I already knew that I won't be able to do smooth gradient because of the paper. Paper absorbs alcohol pigment quite quickly, so there will be stains, and I decided to do something like clouds or simple areas of color. And after a couple of minutes of doing this background, I realized that I made a huge mistake. Beneath my page I used protective plastic wrap, and on that plastic unfortunately I had blue pigment from my previous coloring. It was dry, but I hadn't realized that when I start to apply alcohol here, it will reactivate dirty color on the plastic. So in this area started to appear blue stain, and it looked disastrous. I still have this another blue stain here. So I had to change my plans. On top of this pink, I had to apply a little bit of violet, because how you mask blue stain? By adding violet, which is a mix of blue and pink. And I managed to save it, especially when I sprinkled a lot of white paint. For myself, I explained that maybe girls are on some kind of witch party with a lot of sparkles, a lot of shining, or maybe with some snow around them. Some of the ugliest stains I masked with these additional stars, which I did with golden gel pen and yellow marker. So even if it started not very happily, this page, in the end I think that because of the color palette I like it, and so far it's the best picture which I managed to do in this book. So my struggle continues, but when I start to color in this book, each time I think that, oh well, it's last attempt, maybe it will go to the trash bin because I hate this paper, or maybe I will manage to do something presentable. So here definitely this book earned another chance, and I will do more pictures here. Despite all the struggle, I love the color palette for the background and how it matches color for the girls' outfits. I deliberately tried to stay in limited color palette and similar to the background, so only presents look very vibrant against such calm color palette, and I love this effect. I am not sure in the color of flags, but it was the last element and I simply wanted to finish it, and I think that you can clearly see it. Where I put more efforts, like this folds on the skirt, and where I didn't put efforts at all. Anyway, I am glad that I hadn't abandoned it, because I was on the edge of throwing this book into the trash bin, because the third page and third almost ruined picture. Very difficult. And finally, let's go to the Christmas pictures. The first two I have in Christmas Charm by Teresa Goodrich. Thank you for all your warm comments to my videos about my best works in the winter books and my all finished winter pictures in Teresa Goodrich books. I am glad that you share my love to winter pictures. And what I added to my winter collection in November. The first, I did this door, nicely decorated with the wreath. Very interesting composition, I really enjoyed it. And again, as usual on the winter pictures, I tried to do contrast between a warm light coming from the windows or from inside of the house with cold colors of the shadows on the snow. And I think that here it really created good contrast. Highlights and reflections from the lantern and from the lamp inside of the house, together with deeper shadows on the snow. It added depth to the whole composition. Here to color cardinals was much easier because they are smaller. And of course, each time when I color winter pictures, I need a lot of white paint. For the pine trees, I also love to add Arteza gouache. Very helpful color. It helps to mask excessive thick black lines, especially on the sleeves. I don't know why, again, in this book Teresa put a very thick double edge to the leaves. They doesn't look very nice in such way, those leaves. So the green paint is really very helpful. Lovely page. I love the colors. Again, limited color palette, but very Christmassy in my opinion. And the second one, of course, I did something with skates. Just need to find where are my skates. Sorry guys. Here. I called it wreath with oranges because similar wreath but with different shape of the skates, and with elf here I did last year in Enchanted Christmas. But I love skates and I'm ready to color them many times, and here shape of the skates was more realistic. I think that I managed to show metal blades nicely. I decided that dark blue background will be a good contrast to the wreath. I also added a little bit of snow on the window frame and a little bit of snowflake drawn on the glass of the windows. Additional decoration here. Probably the biggest question for me was how to color those big stars. Their shape is less realistic and much more rough comparing to beautiful skates, nice berries, beautiful bow. So those stars, they look like 5 years old. Added them on the adult picture. But I think that this gradient from lilac into blue and a little bit of white dots like sparkles tried to save them, and they created good connection to the color of the background. My previous skates in Enchanted Charm I did in different colors, they are more grey-blue, so this time I selected warm beige colors for the here for the leather, and I think that it also added something nice to the wreath. I don't know if it's visible, but the whole wreath has two shades of green. The leaves are more yellow-green, and the pine tree branches which are behind, they are more dark green, even blue-green. And again, I used both paints, white and green, to mask lines which I didn't like. In fairy celebrations, I did a picture which I wanted to do for a long time, but you know how detailed are all pictures by Klara Markova, so you need to start them well in advance before Christmas. This time I decided to do it in November, and I'm glad that I did it here. So many yummy things. Even now when I look at it, I want to eat something baked and something sweet. So here we have this gingerbread house, very decorated. I decided to use something different for the sky, because all my skies, they are usually blue, but this time for this magical picture I decided that pink and orange yellow could be a nice difference. Of course, when you color Klara Markova pictures, they are so bright, so detailed, that it's not very easy, at least for me, to get a well-balanced picture where you can clearly see the main hero and the rest of the elements also colored in good way. That's why for the girl I used more unique colors, all those purple, lavender, violet, and the rest of the colors I distributed among the gingerbread boy and girl, the building. Well, but comparing to other pictures here, it was relatively quick. I really hope that in December I will manage to do another one. Somehow in winter part of this book I have the majority of finished pictures here. I already have this picture from the last year, and this one also. Probably that's one of my favorites, because I love this O's family. From this one I started to color this book several years ago, and finally I have also this one. I would love, I also have picture which I did with polychromos, but this one I don't like because, well, it's not enough contrast. It looks very flat. Gingerbread houses are okay, but tree, now I would make it much darker. Anyway, this year I would love to color this one. Anyway, that was my November work, and it really helped me to dive into a spirit of Christmas pictures. I remembered how much I love to do winter and Christmas pictures, and of course all those yummy things. It's a very pleasurable time to color them, but when I do pictures with such subject, I always want to eat something. I also have one work in progress. If you follow my channel, you know that I started to do a spread in fragile wood, spread which I wanted to color for a long time, and huge thanks to my subscribers, followers of my channel who sent me the names of all these plants and flowers. It was extremely helpful, so I was able to look at reference pictures to learn about this endangered plants and flowers, so thank you for your help, and I promise that I will finish the spread. I simply was distracted from it because I had to start to do Christmas pictures. I got a lot of requests, and I realized that if I want to do everything I have in my to-do list for winter and Christmas, I need to put this big spread a little bit on the shelf, so it will have to wait for a little bit, but I promise that I will return to it. Here I started with Arctic's pencils. Well, I'm not a big fan of Arctics. They have nice colors, that's probably why I started to use them, because of their shades of green. Indeed, they have nice green palette, but they are waxy, just like cheap cheap Chinese pencils. So when I wanted to deepen shadows or to do more complicated layering, I added on top of them either dark Prismacolor or dark polychromos. But part of this page I did with Arctics. Then my patience was finished, and for the central part I started to work with polychromos. Polychromos are probably my favorite media in the books by Kerber-Razanes, and it started to be much more easier. So I think that I will proceed with polychromos here, and for the background I think that maybe even with Prismacolors. But we will see. For now I am extremely pleased with my progress, but as I am now in mood of all pictures with snow, snowmen, gingerbread, Christmas decorations, well, this beauty will have to wait. Well, that was all about my November results. Thank you for watching, and very soon we will start our Christmas marathon. I prepared several pictures in the books by Tatiana Bagema, but I hope that I will be using books by other artists also. I hope to see you very soon.